Hi guys, I'm Tammy. This is an Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants lesson with SANCCOB. Today I have Stubby here with me. Hello. A lot of you have met Stubby before. She's here on behalf of Norbert. Actually, this is one of Norbert's lessons. But Norbert is busy swimming in the pool. I went to fetch him, and he was like, "Nope, I'm not going to get out of the pool. I'm just gonna stay swimming in there." So I'm definitely not going to jump in the pool after him to fetch him. So I think Stubby will do a wonderful job. She's definitely very used to these campaigns by now, so I'm sure she'll be happy to do it. Today we have 3 classes with us. We have the 4th grade class from St. Patrick's School in Fredericton, New York. So I'm going to unmute you guys, and if you can please just give us a big hello. So hi, grade 4s from St. Patrick's. Great, thank you. Then we also have Mr. Hong's grade 2 and 3 students who's calling us from Toronto. So Mr. Hong, if your kids can just say hi.
Hi.
Great, thank you. And then we have back again Mrs. Cowley's grade 7s from Ontario. Hello. Great. So we're here today to actually learn a little bit more about the penguin eye, and this focuses on Norbert. Norbert is one of the endangered African penguins that lives at SANCCOB, which is where I work. SANCCOB is the Southern African Foundation for the Conservation of Coastal Birds. We're an animal hospital, and essentially we just work with seabirds. So we're here today to learn about Norbert's story and to learn more about the penguin eye, because Norbert actually lives at SANCCOB due to an eye injury. So I'm not going to spoil too much. I'm going to share my screen with you, and we're going to jump straight into the lesson. I'm going to present to everyone so you can all see. Okay, great. So we are here today to meet Norbert and learn about the penguin eye. I'm going to pop Stubby on the ground for now while I'm doing this. Yeah, so she can have a little walk around because she might get a little bit warm sitting on my lap for too long. So Norbert has a couple of things to say. Hi, I'm Norbert. I am an endangered African penguin. Now, I'm sure most of you guys should know what this word means, but in case you don't, an animal is endangered if there aren't that many of that particular type of animal left in the world. So African penguins are endangered. There are less than 50,000 African penguins in the wild. Now, that sounds like a lot, but it's actually not really, considering that under 100 years ago, there were over 4 million African penguins. So not really that many left. Norbert lives at SANCCOB in Cape Town, South Africa. SANCCOB is where I work. We're an oil spill specialist. We're one of the top 10 oil spill responders in the world, actually. And we also conducted the largest animal rescue mission in history. This was in 2000, where we washed, rehabilitated, and released 19,000 birds that were involved in a single oil spill. And lastly, Norbert wants to tell you, I am a blue. Now, blue, we think of the color blue, but this means something different for African penguins. African penguins have different names based on how old they are, just like people do, you know, so you could be a baby, a toddler, a child, a teenager, an adult, or a senior. But African penguins, they work with chicks, blues, juveniles, and adults. So chicks are from when they hatch until they're about 3.5 months old. They're fluffy and cute. Then once they lose all this fluff, they get this beautiful bluish shine to their feathers, and we call them blues. Then when they turn 1, their feathers go brown, and we call them juveniles. And then when they're 2 years old, they get their little tuxedo, and then they are adults. So Stubby and Norbert are both blues at the moment, but they're becoming juveniles. So with Stubby and Norbert, I've started to notice that the feathers around their face are starting to go browner, and Stubby even has a couple of white patches on the side of her face as if she's getting ready to become an adult. Now, Norbert lives at SANCCOB because of an eye injury. During his stay at the nursery, he was pecked by another chick, and this has significantly damaged his eyes. So Norbert is actually completely blind in the one eye, and we're going to be learning today, why would that be such a problem? Why would that be an issue? Why would Norbert need to live with us because of something like that? So we're here today to learn about the penguin eye and what is it that makes it special and different compared to our eyes. And one thing that makes it different is that the penguin eyelid is mobile, the lower more so than the upper. So what I mean by this is that when we go to sleep and when we blink, we are moving the bottom part of our eye. So, sorry, we are moving the top part of our eye. So our top eyelid is what does this. But for penguins, it's the other way around. And to show you what I mean, what I want you to do, and just bear with me. I know some of you are a little bit older, so you're like, no, I don't want to do this. But bear with me. What I want you to do is I want you to hold your top eyelids. Don't hold your eyebrows. I want you to hold your top eyelids. Yeah, yeah. Oh, there we go. I can see you all doing it. Great. Thank you. So I want you to hold your top eyelids, and now I want you to keep it up and try and blink without moving the top part of your eye. So you can only move your bottom eyelid. See if you can do it. Yeah. Can you do it? Probably not. And if someone in your class is saying that they can, they're lying. Our eyes don't work that way. For people, our bottom eyelids aren't really mobile at all. Normally, if our bottom eyelids are moving, it's more because our facial muscles are moving them around than anything else. So if your top eyelids all of a sudden disappeared, you actually wouldn't really be able to close your eyes properly anymore. But for penguins, it's the other way around. They actually blink with their bottom eyelids, which is really cute and something that makes them different to us. Okay, great. So, back to the screen. Cool. So, penguins can produce tears, but they don't cry. This is because they have a lacrimal gland. So when you cry, it's not that there's a bucket in your nose that's there ready and waiting and turns over when it's time to cry. No, that's not how it works. So you actually have a gland that'll start producing tears based on hormones and other stuff that's happening in your body. Now, penguins also have this gland, but they don't cry. They produce tears. So if they have something like an eye infection or something is irritating their eye, it's likely that their eyes would start to water to wash it away. Penguins also have a nictitating membrane or a third eyelid. This moves from the inside and then outwards. This protects their eyes from dust and salty, dirty water. So to put it into perspective, if this was Norbert's other eye over here, not very well drawn, sorry, and here's his beak, there you go, just so you can kind of see like where on his face we are. His third eyelid is going to go from the inside outwards across his eye. So Norbert would have one eyelid at the top, one eyelid at the bottom, and one eyelid that goes across the eye. So I don't know if any of you guys have tried to open your eyes underwater before, but normally it's a little bit sore, it's a bit uncomfortable, and it's because our eyes are super sensitive and they're not really made to be open underwater like that. Now, when we want to open our eyes underwater, we would buy goggles. You know, if you wanted to go snorkeling or diving or something like that, you would have goggles on. Now, penguins don't wear goggles because that would be crazy. Also, where on earth would they purchase such a thing as penguin goggles? So it makes a lot of sense that they have these kind of built-in goggles that protect their eyes. Penguins' eyes are on the side of their head, and this helps them have a very broad field of vision. However, if you stand directly in front of a penguin, they can't actually see you very well, so they'd start to turn their head so they could get a better look at you. So imagine your eyes were just above your ears on the side of your head. So you could see super duper well left and right, but you couldn't really see what was directly in front of you. And that's because you have this blind spot. So penguins, they see in a similar way to this. Obviously, it's not as intense, but that's just because, you know, their heads aren't as big as ours. During an oil spill, a penguin's eye will sting when it comes into contact with oil. When we have oiled penguins at SANCCOB, we use eye ointment to soothe the pain. So I said before that SANCCOB was an oil spill specialist, and last year we actually wound up helping some penguins that came in during an oil spill. We do work with oil birds every year, but what I want to share with you now was a spill that happened in my country. But remember, we're learning about the penguin eye, so I want you to look at how they're turning their head to get a better look at you, how they are blinking with the bottom eyelid, how they have a third eyelid that goes across the eye, and how we put medicine around the eye. Great, so hopefully you got to see some of those things I mentioned. If the video quality was not great, this is actually available on YouTube, the video itself, so you can watch it and then discuss it as a class afterwards. Now, the reason why we have to take such good care of their eyes is because penguins actually have really good eyesight, and this helps them see and catch fish in the ocean. So with Norbert's eyesight being impaired and him not being able to really see what's directly in front of him and half of his vision, he would really struggle to catch fish, which is a big reason why he stays here with us. Something else that helps penguins catch fish is that penguins can see in color. Now, not all animals see in color. If you can't see in color, they describe it as color blind. But penguins see in color, similarly to how we do. And that's everything there is to see about the penguin eye. Yay! So you should be back on me now. What I'm going to do is, because we've got quite a large group with us here today, I'm going to open up to questions, but we're going to go one class at a time, and I'm going to take 2 questions from each class. So think about what it is you want to ask. So if you want to ask something about penguins or about South Africa or about anything that you saw now, or about anything that you saw now during the lesson, you are welcome to ask. I reckon I am going to start with the 4th graders from St. Patrick's. So I'm going to start there with you guys. Does someone have a question for me from the 4th grader group from St. Patrick's? Thank you.
Can local students visit you and the penguins?
Can you say again, sorry?
Can local students visit you and the penguins?
Oh, yes, they can. So we have lots of schools that come and visit us. We see quite a few kids, actually. This year we've seen just over 6,000 between online and actually them coming here and seeing us. So I also go out to schools quite a bit. This morning I was, bless you. This morning I was at a school in Cape Town, and we were talking about plastic pollution. So a lot of kids do come and visit us. Not just schools, though. We also have tours. So people come to see the hospital and learn about the work that we do, and what our vet does and what the procedures are like and things like that. A lot of people find it super duper interesting. It's a wonderful question. Thank you.
Tamlyn, how did you become interested in working with wildlife?
I think a lot of people when they're younger, they really like animals, so for me, I always enjoyed animals and working with animals, but I never really wanted to go into that kind of field because I get very upset, when animals get hurt and when people do silly things that hurt animals. What do you want? Sorry, she keeps rumbling around. I don't think I'd be a very good vet or a very good rehab. I think I'd be way too attached for that kind of thing. So I actually studied to be a high school maths teacher, and I was teaching maths for a couple of years, and then something like this opened up, and I thought, wow, this is a way of combining how much I love animals and how much I love teaching. So I was always involved as a child. As you guys should get involved, you should go to animal shelters, or you should become members of organizations and just try and do something. You'll be surprised. We have kids here in Cape Town that literally they just pop by the center and they drop off cupcakes that they've made or something. But it's great because we have so many volunteers here every day that really appreciate the gesture. So I always try to do things like that to get involved. That's an awesome question. Thank you so much. And thank you, 4th graders from St. Patrick's School in New York. So let's pop over to Mr. Huang's grade 2s and 3 students from Toronto. Do you have 2 questions for me, sir?
Yes, we do. Go ahead.
Why do adult penguins have tuxedos?
Why do adult penguins have what?
Come up and say nice and loud.
Have tuxedos.
That's an awesome question. Okay, so all penguins are black and white. Some of them have a little bit of pink and a little bit of yellow, but they are all essentially black on the back and white on the front. Bless you. They've got white here and they've got black here. That's just how they work. Now, the black on the back has actually got to do with the sun, and it causes laser damage to the feathers, and it's better that the part of their body that's facing the sun all the time can just soak it up. But this part, the tummy, that's white, that is very clever. So while they are swimming in the ocean and they're floating on top of the water, they kind of blend into the sky. So if there's a shark or there's a fur seal or something swimming below the penguin, if they look up, they're just going to see the white. So it kind of just blends into the sky, and it makes the penguins less likely to be spotted by their predators. So it's actually really clever, and it's quite amazing. That's a good question. Thank you.
Please excuse the interruption. Sean, please return to class.
I wonder why penguins are an endangered species. Why is it important to take care of the African penguins?
So I think it's very important to take care of not just African penguins, but penguins in general, because penguins are an indicator species. And what I mean by that is they are a very special type of seabird. You know, they're the only type of seabird that's diving at a certain depth to get their fish. So if penguins are dying, it's a sign that our oceans are dying, because it's a big problem. So you'll find that the African penguin, a lot of their problems are probably different to other types of penguins. So a lot of their eggs were harvested, a lot of their guano was harvested. If you're wondering what guano is, hold on, I'll show you. So this on my towel, this is guano. It's just penguin poop. So people used to dig up their guano all the time on the colonies, and the reason why they did this is because it was an awesome fertilizer, and they would sell it, and you know it was just like liquid gold. But that caused a huge problem for them because they started running out of stuff to make their nests with. Penguins were also briefly used in fashion and in cooking, but you know not that much. But we find today that most of the problems that penguins are facing are things that are linked to people. And that's why we should take notice of it, because if we can have a species that can go from being millions and millions of individuals to less than 50,000 in the space of like 70, 80 years, that means that the world is in trouble and we are treating our animals terribly. So you'll find a lot of penguins, they're having problems due to things like plastic pollution, overfishing, and climate change. And those are basically all things that link back to people and our actions. So we should take notice, because if animals are dying, it's a sign that we're treating our world like rubbish, which we shouldn't. That's an excellent question. Thank you so much. And we're going to pop to our last class, Mrs. Cowley's grade 7s from Ontario. Do you guys have 2 questions for me?
So who's doing another one?
All right, go ahead and read. Wow, you've got to be way louder.
How many years did you do in college or university?
Did you hear that?
Not at all. I'm so sorry.
Wow.
How many years did it take to do this job in college or university?
Mrs. Cowley, do you mind repeating the question for me?
Yeah, she said, what did you study in university and college, and how many years did it take you?
So I studied to be a math teacher, so I did an education degree, which in my country takes 4 years, but we have people here that have done things like nature conservation, that's 3 years, or specializing in zoology, that's also 3 or 4 years, depending on how in-depth you want to go. We have people here that are vets, that's a big chunk of time, 6, 7 years. So there are lots of people here that have done different things. But if you kind of want a general thing that's not too specialized, good things to go into actually are game ranging. Although some people don't like doing it because there's a hunting factor to it that you need to do to finish your qualification. So some people here don't like it as much. But you know, like people have different opinions on hunting, so it doesn't really, you know, it's up to you as an individual. But things like nature conservation are also very straightforward and won't take too long, and then you can assist in these kinds of things. But remember, you don't need to have a qualification in something like this to get involved. You can volunteer and you can give of your time. And when you turn 18, you can come to SANCCOB and you can be an intern. So you can come and intern in South Africa for 6 months and hand rear African penguin chicks, or you can work in the rehab, or you can come and work in education with me and do stuff like this. It's really cool. That's an awesome question. Thank you. I'm sorry I couldn't hear you well.
Where are the other penguins at your facility?
Where are the other ones? So the other guys are outside my office, and I will take you for a very quick walk around. So hopefully this doesn't cut out while I'm busy. So Stubby is still here, by the way. So I'm just going to leave her here because I don't want her to, you know, like run out and get hurt or something like that. So I'm going to close my door. Okay, so this is the inside of the hospital. And heading outside, this is where Stubby lives in Home Pen. So that's where Stubby lives. And then you'll also see we have a couple of the rehab birds that are swimming. So you can see them swimming. This is Ebony. Ebony is a bank cormorant. She's really cool. And here are some of the guys swimming. So there are actually quite a few pens here. We have about 200 birds in the hospital at the moment, although our maximum capacity is 1,500, so we can deal with quite a bit more than that. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for taking part in this Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants lesson. Stubby and I really enjoyed meeting all of you, and we hope that you enjoyed meeting us and hearing a little bit more about the penguin eye. If you enjoyed this lesson and you'd like to help us, something you can do is, as a class, you can name and adopt your very own penguin. So outside where we just were, we see 1,500 penguins a year that need help, and we need your help to buy fish and medicine so we can get them back out to sea. So if you'd like to do that, you're welcome to chat to Joe, or you can chat to me. We can organize something about that. If you can't, that's fine, but please tell someone that you met an African penguin today and that the African penguin is endangered. So from me, Tammy here at SANCCOB in Cape Town, South Africa, and from Stubby, who has covered my floor with guano. Here she is. Come here, big one. We hope that you have a lovely day, and we hope to see you for another lesson. Bye.
Bye.